What's up, guys? And welcome back to our second episode of a Body Slam podcast. It is Finish the Fight. I am joined by Rami, Hanna. My name is Corey Brennan, and we are going to be breaking down the UFC 277 card today. It goes down from the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas, tomorrow night. So we're a bit late on getting our preview up, but we're here today to do that, and we're going to get straight into it. First things first, we're going to just run down what the main card actually is. Unfortunately, Paulo Costa and Luke Rockhold, the middleweight, high-level middleweight, not title bout, middleweight contenders bout, was postponed to UFC 278. So when it was previously booked for this card, also, so moving on then for the rest of the card, there's 5 fights on the main card as of this recording. Magomedov Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith in the light heavyweight division. That is a high stakes matchup at the top of the light heavyweight division. Next up, then we will have Alexandra Pantoja versus Alex Perez in the flyweight division. Yet again, two high-ranked fighters possibly fighting to decide who will challenge for the undisputed flyweight title. We'll get onto that now in a couple of seconds here. Next up, then we go to the heavyweight division where Derrick Lewis will once again fight downwards to fight a rising contender. He will fight Sergey Pavlovich just before the co-main, and then with the co-main event, we will have a interim flyweight title bout between Brandon Moreno and Karakhanyan, number 1 and number 2 in the flyweight division. And then in our main event, we will see the rematch between Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes for the Bantamweight Championship of the World after Pena shocked the world. So before we do get into that main card, Rami, we've discussed that I have something I want to comment on the early prelims and the prelims. Is there anything you want to comment on before I mention mine, or do you want to just
I will. I'll do mine after yours.
Okay, well. First of all, guys, before we do move on to the main card, I think what we're going to do when it comes to pay-per-views is we are going to have a quick segment before we talk about the main card, where we will pick something out on the prelims that we feel like deserves to be talked about. And one thing that I will mention is Michael Morales. I think he's 13-0. He's on the early prelims. His last bout ended in a violent finish. And he's really young as well. I believe he's only 21 years of age, 22 maybe, so younger than I am. So, and he has explosive power. He has great striking, great wrestling. He looks like he's going to be a top prospect. And I don't understand why he is not on the prelims, to be honest. But even just the TV prelims. But yeah, that's just all I wanted to say to that. If you are on the fence about watching the early prelims, I would suggest watching it because Michael Morales is a hell of a talent. And now I will pass over to Rami to talk about what he feels like is something that you can't miss on those prelims.
Prior to the feature, the prelim that we're going to be witnessing between Alex Moreno and Jedi, we are going to be seeing Drew Dober versus Rafael Alves. Drew Dober, in his last 3 fights, he had lost back-to-back fights to Islam Mashayev, who's now fighting for the lightweight championship, and Brad Riddle. He bounced back from his recent fight, almost losing to Terrence McKinney to win that. I did want to also chime in on the Michael Morales situation in a second, but these two, Drew Dober and Rafael Alves, are going to put on a show. I thought it should be the feature, the prelim. It should have been my personal opinion, but I personally feel like everybody who tunes in will get a kick out of that fight. Also, Michael Morales defeated Nikolai Veterinary to win the Dana White Contender Series. 3 months later, makes his UFC debut to fight Trevin Giles on the opening main card of UFC 270 and Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. And since then, they put him down to the last fight on the early prelims. How do you go from opening up a main card, having a violent knockout like that, being undefeated, and then they put you down to the early prelims? It makes no sense. So I completely agree with you that the undefeated fighters should be on the prelims, or even a featured prelim fight with how much of a rising stock he has.
Yeah, so we will move on to the main card then straight away. So there is some good fights on the prelims, guys. It's just that if we did analyze every single fight on the card, we'd be here for about 2, 3, 4 hours talking about it. So we've decided to take a focus on the main card. So first off, Rami, we will go to the light heavyweight division, as mentioned before. Magomedov Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, obviously a former title challenger. For a lot of people, he could have easily become light heavyweight champion if he had decided to play up a disqualification for an illegal knee. I think this is going to be. I don't think there's much to really say about this bout. It seems like it's a bit. It seems like once again they're feeding a veteran to Ankalaev. Ankalaev is kind of steamrolling through the light heavyweight division. No one's really been able to offer anything that really even remotely tests them. And now that we have a new champion in Georgi Prohaska, I feel like Ankalaev could be the one to take that title off Prohaska. Prohaska obviously would probably be more than likely fighting Glover Teixeira again. But yeah, in terms of this fight, I don't see Anthony Smith putting up really much in the way of resistance to Ankalaev, because at the end of the day, Ankalaev is a fighter who's not afraid to walk down these killers in the light heavyweight division, and Anthony Smith is a killer. That is something that is an absolute certainty. He will fight until he can't fight no more. And to be honest, with Ankalaev's well-rounded game, I really don't think Smith has any answer for him, unless we've seen that Ankalaev can sort of slow down as the fight progresses. He doesn't have the best cardio, it looks like, when you drag him to later rounds. But when you're fighting a three-round bout, it's so much less cardio than a championship rounds bout. But yeah, all in all, really, all I really have to say to that fight is I think Ankalaev is going to steamroll Smith, and I think he'll be next in line for a light heavyweight title challenge. And now I will pass it over to you.
Ankalaev's last loss was in 2018 to Paul Craig. Since then, he has gone. His last 5 have been all wins, and he has been on an 8-fight win streak, tearing it through the division. Yesterday during the press conference, Anthony Smith said Ankalaev has had 18 MMA competitions and 0 fights. And to me, it made no sense because a lot of his opponents have tried putting up a good fight. And no matter what, you step into the octagon, it's a fight. Same with Smith's competition. But last 4 fights for Ankalaev have been back-to-back first-round finishes over Ian Katelba and back-to-back decision wins over Volkan Ozdemir and Nikita Krylov, who are set to probably fight in the near future. So he's fought guys with names. Anthony Smith, his last 3 wins, remember this, he lost to Alexander Rakic. And since then, he's defeated Devin Clark, Jimmy Crute, and Ryan Spann, all within finishes. He's put up a lot of good fights. He says he's going to bring the fight to Ankalaev in the opener. I personally am excited for this fight because Ankalaev is a special talent. The guy can wrestle, but the guy can stand with you and deliver the weirdest moves to finish the fight. Smith is Lionheart for a reason. He puts it all in his fights. He has been unsuccessful in a couple of fights of his, but who isn't? What true MMA fighter isn't successful? So his last 3 fights, he's won. He's 3-2 in his last 5. Ankalaev is 5-0. It's going to be a nice opener. I don't see Smith winning it. I believe perhaps that I booked it to be a 3rd-round finish for Ankalaev by submission. He's going to trap whatever choke he can on Smith and finish the fight. I don't see it going the distance.
Okay, so I think we're both in agreement then that Ankalaev is probably going to just steam. You obviously feel like it's going to be a longer bout than I do. I predict that it'll be a 1st or 2nd round finish. I think he'll knock out Smith. I don't think he's going to want anything to do with Smith's ground game. Smith has a really good submission game as well that you don't really get to see a lot of these days. But yeah, we'll move on then to a division that has kind of seen a bit of a renaissance over the last couple of years. For a division that was widely considered to be a dead division, a division that no one was interested in, they've been routinely putting on high-level bouts that have found much success in terms of fans' approval and such like that. Alexandra Pantoja will fight Alex Perez on the UFC 277 main card. They will be the second fight on the main card, and of course, once again, it is a high-level matchup, as it would be the case of the number 4 ranked Alexandra Pantoja fighting Alex Perez, who is ranked number 6. And I'm going to let Rami take this fight first, and then I will give my opinion on it.
Yeah, just give me one moment. So, a lot of people are speculating that this fight will lead to the winner of the then interim champion versus Davison Figueiredo for the undisputed flyweight championship. I call that baloney. I don't think it should even happen at all. Pantoja, I like the guy. The last loss of his was suffered against Askar Askarov, who then lost to Karakhanyan, who's fighting in a co-main event now for the interim championship. The last time Perez lost was to Davison Figueiredo. That was his last loss. That was his last fight even. So since then, both men have been putting themselves into the division, make a name known. But Perez is coming off a championship loss. I don't understand how a win over Pantoja can lead him to a championship fight with the next one. It shouldn't. He should honestly fight guys like Brandon Royval. He should honestly fight the loser of the co-main event. But personally, for me, both guys know what they're doing in the octagon. The flyweight division is a very exciting division. I don't know why it went through any of the matchmakers or people within the UFC's mindset to destroy the division, just leave it in the dirt. It shouldn't have. It should never even be thought of. This division is fun, exciting. These two are going to kill it. But I personally see Alex Perez grinding it out for the decision. Last time he was in the octagon, lost to Figueiredo in the first round by guillotine. He didn't look necessarily fresh. He couldn't get started on the floor, and it was not a good night for him. I feel like a fight against Pantoja, who has learned from his loss against Askar Askarov, that he can actually go to the ground and actually, withstand people who want to take him down. So hopefully Saturday night is a good night for Perez, because I have him winning by unanimous decision. Hopefully it's a banger. Your thoughts on this fight?
I think you covered it pretty well, and to me, this I don't agree per se with the idea that this fight is the decider for a title challenge, because when you really think about it, look at what we're going to be looking at tomorrow night. Brandon Moreno is going to be facing off with Karakhanyan. We'll get more into that later, but just let's say either of them win. It doesn't matter who wins. It's an interim title bout. Whoever wins that fight is next for Figueiredo, no matter what, to do a unification fight. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the winner of this fight will end up fighting either, let's see, who else is top ranked. So you've got Askar Askarov, you've got Brandon Royval, you've got Matt Schnell, who just had a big win. So I think whoever wins this bout is actually going to need to at least fight one more time to earn a title shot, because they're going to be sitting on the sidelines for nearly 6, 7, 8 months while they're waiting for the interim title and Figueiredo and Moreno, everyone to be ready for that bout to happen. In terms of this fight itself, just the actual fight itself, I think that I agree with you. I think Perez really does need this win. So I honestly don't see Pantoja giving Perez a lot of trouble. Perez obviously is a tough ask for anyone in that division. But I think, like you said, I think you'd be able to grind out a unanimous decision victory. And I would honestly like to see him eventually get that shot again at Figueiredo.
I also want to mention one thing before we do close it off. Perez is number 6 ranked. Pantoja is number 4 ranked.
Oh,
The winner of this fight should fight the number 3 ranked Askarov. I would
yeah.
love to see them fight the loser of the co-main event because that would be an exciting fight. But give them Askarov. Have Pantoja, if he does become victorious after Saturday night, have revenge and a rematch. Or give Perez a tougher competition because you gave him Figueiredo, he lost. You give him Pantoja, hopefully Saturday night is successful, and then you give him Askarov, give him tough fights. Even Brandon Royval can sneak in there, or Matt
Yeah.
Snell. Give him competitions, give him fights. Don't just feed him to the wolves immediately again, just like they did before. But yeah, that's my thoughts, and that's it.
Okay, so well, now that we've covered that one, we will move on to pretty much the most exact opposite of the flyweight division, the heavyweight division between Derrick Lewis and Sergey Pavlovich, two very, very big boys, are going to get swang and bang at this event on Saturday. And so, really, I Lewis has kind of had a hit and miss, literally over the last few months. Obviously, he failed in his interim title challenge against Saragan. He bounced back. Then he had met Tai Tuivasa, who realistically anyone could have won that fight. It was just two bad dudes throwing down in the middle of the cage, two heavy-handed guys, and Lewis was the one that ended up getting caught by Tuivasa. So, I predict that in this fight, it's really becoming a case of if you can survive Lewis. Lewis is becoming a high-level gatekeeper for heavyweights because when you look at it from a perspective, Lewis might be the only one who can come close to Ngannou's power in the heavyweight division. So he's really the test to see if you can avoid that nuke of a right hand. And Pavlovich has kind of been quietly making a name for himself a heavyweight, but once again, like I mentioned before to you beforehand, Rami, Lewis is fighting down. Lewis is ranked number 5 in the heavyweight division. Pavlovich is only ranked number 11. So he's fighting outside the top 10 against a dangerous, dangerous fighter in Pavlovich. And to be honest, I really don't know because I can't say with this fight because there's so many variables when it comes to a Derrick Lewis fight. We both know that by now. Any number of factors could play into that man's fight tomorrow night. His back could flare up. He could gas himself out in the first round like he tends to. We just don't know. Or he could get his ass beat for 3 rounds and knock out Pavlovich in the last seconds. It wouldn't be the first time he's done that. So I really don't know how I can I don't know, but I tend to lean toward Lewis when I don't know because every time that I bet against him, I end up losing. So I'm gonna pick Derrick Lewis by first round knockout.
Good prediction. Mine's completely on the other side. Not of predicting Pavlovich, but you'll know. But Pavlovich, his last loss came in 2018 in Beijing, China, against Alistair Overeem. Since then, he has had just 3 what do you call it, beautiful fights. His first to start the streak, ending in decision, unanimous for himself, and then his last 2 fights have been finishes. Derrick Lewis, we know what to expect when we see him in that octagon. Either he throws bombs, and remember yesterday's during the press conference, he wanted a Spanish translator, which I thought was hilarious because I'm Hispanic. But what do you call it? Then he says that he's going to swing and bang. He's going to kick some ass. He's going to do everything it takes to win the fight. Pavlovich is calm, collected. He already knows that once Saturday comes, it's going to be the same situation he's dealt with. This time, he gets a second big name. The last time he fought a big name, he lost. Alistair Overeem in China. But now he gets this opportunity to fight Derrick Lewis. I also want to give a little thing out about Derrick Lewis. His Texas record. His record in Texas is 10 wins and only 2 losses. In Dallas, he's 1-0.
I
So he
was about to mention that. Yeah, I forgot that. I honestly forgot that it was in Texas within the 20 minutes of me opening this episode to us
yeah,
talking
Dallas,
about this.
Texas.
But
It's the main reason why I'm wearing this jersey, the only
yeah,
jersey from the Dallas Mavericks I'll ever wear. But yes, His record 10-2. His last win came when he was 7-1 when he was in Dallas. That's the last time. Now he's had 25 fights in his
And he's the
career, and
record
he's
holder for KOs in the UFC.
yeah, I believe 21 knockouts. It's
Incredible.
insane.
You will.
My prediction is my prediction is I see Derrick Lewis grinding it out like he did against Leo Latifi and getting the decision win. I would love to see a knockout. And I would love to see some bombs being thrown. And I feel like we will see bombs thrown and we'll see some close action moments. But I don't necessarily see it going to a finish. And if it does, both men will most likely gas out before we're able to see that. So Derrick Lewis will grind it out, will throw as many bombs, get the judges on his side with the scorecards, and win it in a close split decision. Let's go with that. A split decision, Derrick Lewis will be getting. That's my prediction.
That's fair. Moving on then to the first of two title bouts of the evening. Brandon Moreno versus Karakhanyan, number 1 versus number 2. Brandon Moreno fighting for the right to challenge Danny Figueiredo one more time. I feel like this is a bit ridiculous. It's another case of the UFC overbooking their interim championships. But so Brandon Moreno, number 1, Karakhanyan, number 2. As I mentioned, Karakhanyan, of course, coming off some big wins. Recently knocking out Cody Garbrandt as one of the names that many fans might recognize. Absolutely ran through Cody, to be honest. Moreno is coming off the quadrilogy of fighting Figueiredo. Figueiredo will end up fighting in the fall of this year. So it's pretty much guaranteed that the winner of this fight will end up fighting for the undisputed title and look to unify it with the interim. I'm going to let Rami take over for this fight and go first for the first title bout of the evening.
I love it. I'm excited for this fight. But the thing is this, it shouldn't be a championship fight. It should just be a co-main event 5-rounder, or even a 3-rounder. I don't mind whichever they do, as long as it's not for the championship. Because if Figueiredo is back in by a fall, then what would be the point of booking interim champion? I got it with the Dominic Cruz situation whenever Renan Barão won the interim championship, and Dominic's dealing with his ACL, so he's going to be out defend interim championship. But this, it's just like when Ngannou won the championship against Stipe, and then they book Cyril Gane against Derrick Lewis for the interim championship. But it makes no sense. It's the UFC in a way punishing fighters just for saying, hey, I want to take some time off instead of going into war again for a 4th time. Because last time Figueiredo won it by decision. He actually edged it out. Prior to that, Moreno caught that choke in, and it was in a way, boyhood dream come true for him of working his ass off, being cut by the UFC, coming back. And prior to that loss against Figueiredo, his prior loss that was not even a loss. It was a draw to Askar Askarov. And Askar Askarov, as we've seen, lost to Karakhanyan by decision. And now because of that, we're getting this fight. Karakhanyan in the first fight against Brandon Moreno said that wasn't him. That was the old Kai that you saw. That wasn't the one that we see in today's time. And it's the truth. Because since that fight, he's ran through the division. He's put on amazing fights, performance of the nights, and he's put himself into the position where now he's fighting for gold. He also wants to join the big 3 for city kickboxing with Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champion, and Alexander Volkanovski, the featherweight champion. He has this mindset that he's going to go into this fight and it's going to be a war, which we've seen in the last 3 fights for Moreno, which is crazy for Figueiredo as well, as he came off that win over Alex Perez in the first round in the last 5 seconds of the first. And then a month later, he fights Brandon Moreno, who they go into a huge draw, set it up for the rematch for Moreno taking it. The trilogy where Figueiredo took it. He's been in wars, Moreno. They all have been in wars. And Karakhanyan joining in on this. If I could make a just random rule at MMA, I would love to book I would love to book a triple threat of Karakhanyan against Brennan Moreno against Deepson Figueiredo. That would be one of the best MMA fights we'll see of all time. But yeah, my prediction to win this, let me open up my phone very quickly so I can be able to get this, because I believe I'm booking for something huge. As much as I love Brandon Moreno, his spirit, the fighting he has inside of his system, the way that he fought Figueiredo was just shocking, because we didn't see anybody handle Figueiredo until Brandon Moreno came for that fight. So, but it's a 5-round war, this fight. I believe Moreno's going to put on a war. I believe he's going to put on an amazing fight, but I don't see him getting the win, because I do see Karakhanyan getting the win in the 4th round by finish. TKO or a knockout, it's going to be guns blazing. It's going to be a war, and we are going to see an interim champion fight Deepson Figueiredo, and my prediction being Karakhanyan, who was originally booked to fight him, who Deepson Figueiredo did say he wanted because of the 4th fight being in shambles between him and Moreno. He said, I want Karakhanyan in an Instagram post I can probably post later on. And he says that this is the fight everybody wants, which I want more than anything. I want a little fresh start for Figueiredo because he won the championship. I would love to see a 4th fight, but why not book him in a new fight? It's easy. It's simple. So I would love to see that happen. I would love to see Karakhanyan win the championship. But either man who wins the title, we all know Figueiredo is going to be preparing for a war with his crooked finger that hopefully I hope heals just in time for the fight, and no mishaps happen for any rebookings to happening in the later future. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a hard fight to pick because, like I said before, the flyweight division is so high level right now. It's crazy, but yeah, as you said, Davison Figueiredo is waiting in the wings for the winner of this fight. I personally want to see the quadrilogy fight between the pair. I feel like the fact that it was a draw, a win for Moreno, a win for Figueiredo, it's not natural that a quadrilogy should happen. And I don't agree with this fight being made. I feel like Karakhanyan could have fought Askarov instead, and then just had Moreno wait for Figueiredo. And I think they're taking a big chance here because if Karakhanyan does win, the quadrilogy might never happen. And whatever about what people might think about the flyweight division, a quadrilogy bout would sell big, even for that division. And I feel like they're betting all their horse. I think the UFC think Moreno's going to win this fight, and I understand why. Karakhanyan, yes, he's an absolute banger on the feet, but I feel like if Moreno could take him down, control him, and grind him out until he tires out, then Moreno will start winning the striking exchanges. It's all about Moreno getting out that first round without any real damage, I think. Because I don't think Karakhanyan is going to be ready for a 5-round war. I don't think he will be. Moreno, like you said, he's been in war after war with Figueiredo, and I just don't see him being folded like you think he will be. I think Moreno will win. I don't know if it'll be by decision or submission. I don't think he'll knock Karakhanyan out, but we will see anyway, one way or another, tomorrow night. And then finally, then the main event of the evening, the women's bantamweight title bout rematch between Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes. It's a big rematch. There's been an Ultimate Fighter season and everything for this fight. It's been a very, very, very incredible build to this bout. Don't want to compare it to Ronda Rousey's reaction, but I think the shock was of that same caliber, especially for MMA hardcore fans, when Pena did win by submission to win that title. And I think even more people were shocked that the way she got to that submission was by outstriking and breaking Nunes mentally. So I don't know which version of Amanda Nunes we're going to get tonight because I don't understand where that came from. I don't know if she took Pena too lightly and then when she started getting lit up, she panicked. I don't know, but I feel like this time Nunes will show up a lot more motivated. She's been saying a lot in her camp how motivated her daughter has made her lately. And I think that, and Pena said the same about her daughter as well, which is, it's very wholesome to say the least for a sport like mixed martial arts. In terms of the bout itself, I don't know. I really don't know because Pena really has to hope that she doesn't get lit up at range. Because if Nunes can establish her range and start lighting her up, I don't see Pena being able to survive long. Pena needs to close the distance, make it a dogfight, and drag Nunes to the ground if she can. But all things considered, I think Amanda Nunes is going to become the first ever two-time women's bantamweight champion because at the end of the day, she look at the tear that she went on before this loss. It feels like this is her uh, Matt Serra moment, like GSP losing to Matt Serra. That's what this feels like, and it feels like tomorrow night she's going to go back out there, remind everyone how good she really is, and restart her run. And remember, she's still the women's featherweight champion. So she is still the champion going into this fight, and she looked to become a double champion yet again. So all in all, I think Nunes will finish her in the second round TKO. So what do you think of the main?
Prior to Pena defeating Nunes, Matt Serra defeating GSP, like you mentioned, was the biggest upset in MMA history. But well, for me now, that's for men, for males MMA, that's the biggest upset. For women's MMA, we had two of the biggest upsets. Well, three: Holly Holm knocking out Ronda Rousey, Amanda Nunes knocking out Chris Cyborg, and then Juliana Pena finishing Amanda Nunes in the second round. I went back and I watched that fight, and the first significant strike that is thrown by Nunes was a leg strike to the calf that immediately took out Pena and put her on the floor. The next time she had her was in the 3-minute mark of the first round, where she landed a push kick followed by a jab to once again drop Pena. She goes to the ground, she starts scrambling, and Pena looks for that Kimura. It didn't look like a lot in that fight, in that round, because for me personally, I've seen that happen in countless amount of rounds. We've all seen it happen. So we all think second round comes in and we're going to see a different, not even a different result for Nunes, but Nunes to continue going on a rear end tear like she did against Raquel Pennington, against Jermaine Durandamai, against Felicia Spencer. She grinded out all those fights and just dominated both on the stand-up and the ground. That wasn't the case here. And that was because Pena learned how to take that overhand. That overhand that stopped Ronda Rousey, that stopped Miesha Tate, that stopped Chris Cyborg. That right hand, those hooks, all that she has was not a match for Pena, which is shocking because if it's taken out others, how couldn't it have taken out them? I'm not saying this is a one-hit wonder moment for Pena. She proved herself. Prior to that win that she had, she was 2-2 heading into that fight. No one really expected her to win this championship. No one expected her to fight for this championship. The only reason why it was called was because she was the only available woman in the bantamweight division, and the UFC said, "Screw it, we'll book this fight." In a way, give Nunes another win. Prior to that win, though, Pena has defeated Jessica Ai, Nico Montano, who was the former UFC flyweight women's champion, and Sarah McMahon. She also defeated Kat Zingano, who prior to Pena defeated Amanda Nunes at UFC 178 in 2014. Since then, since that loss, Amanda Nunes went on a 12-fight win streak. We all know who she destroyed. We all know who she's beaten, and it led to her winning the UFC Bantamweight Championship, then the UFC Featherweight Championship. She's defended both titles. She also has said that she is open to defend the featherweight championship, to which Pena responded, "In what division?" Because the UFC doesn't have that many featherweight fighters, or even any that I've even seen fight in the past couple of years since Nunes last defended the championship against Spencer. So since that fight in 2014, Nunes went on a path of war. Pena stops it in the most shocking way in the second round by submission. And that's where I think the fight's going to end. This time for Nunes, she's going to tie it up 1-1, but this time she's going to get the submission the exact same way Pena did. It's going to be the exact same fight we saw in the first, but they're the exact reverse. Who knows? Maybe Pena might drop Nunes once or twice in the first. Maybe it might make Nunes nervous. But once the second round comes and she's fully understood that you've been in this before, you've grinded out decisions, you've knocked out the best, you've submitted the best, you've done all it takes to make it here. It's your game, it's your show, it's your main event. And she's going to go for the finish, grind it out in the second, like the lioness that she is, and go for the tap out, win back the championship, and become the first two-time bantamweight women's champion. And I believe again, once again, the double champion.
So that is every fight covered. Absolutely, it's going to be a fun card. It's I think just to add a little bit more to this, Rami, why don't we have a little play a little game called Get Over Under? So let's see. So this isn't exactly it's not a stacked pay-per-view. You've got Amanda Nunes and Brandon Moreno, Derrick Lewis as really the big names the casuals might know. So I am going to give a number of 300,000 buys. Do you think it'll be over or under 300,000 buys on pay-per-view for UFC 277?
300,000 pay-per-view buys? You said over,
Yes.
under?
Yeah.
Under.
You think it's going to be under 300,000?
Yeah.
Because yeah.
I love every fighter in this card. They should all deserve the star power, but Lewis, Nunes, Moreno, and all these others are not really enough to earn over 300,000 buys. That's just my opinion. Hopefully they actually exceed that, and we're able to actually talk about the good of it, because no offense to Nunes, but she's not the pay-per-view buyer or the pay-per-view points that people, want her to be. She's destroyed the best and she's knocked out the best. But the thing is, though, she's still not a pay-per-view queen. She's not the name. She's not what the people want to see, which sucks because that 12-5 win streak was historic. And she's probably going to go on another streak. We don't know that yet. We just have to see you for tomorrow night.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You've basically took the words right out of my mouth. I also feel like it'll be under 300,000 buys. I think it'll be lucky to get 250,000 buys, to be honest. If it does, I'd be delighted. Don't get me wrong. I love Amanda Nunes. I love Juliana Pena. I love all the guys on the card as well. And I want to see them all succeed. So preferably, I would prefer it to be over 300,000. I just don't see it selling that much. Rami, we are going to wrap up this episode. Now, guys, this is episode 2. We will be bringing you episode 3 next week, covering everything that does happen on this card, and then some booking what's next for each winner and loser, so on and so forth. And then I'll pass it over to you, Rami, to tell the people where you are, they can find you.
You could follow me on Twitter. I'm about to hit 900 followers, so you should definitely help me exceed that at Who Else But Rami. That is my @ You can also find me streaming on Twitch at Who Else But Rami TV. I'm there just about every night playing any game that anyone can suggest, having fun with my boys, and just having a good time, always bringing good vibes. Also, I just want to give a little fucking plug. My apologies for guessing, but I want to give a little plug to our producer. You should also follow him at the Jamius. I don't know how I can plug that. I go just do like this and boom, it'll pop up. But yeah, definitely follow him. He deserves all the credit in the world. He knows how to run these shows and put everything together. I don't know how he deals with any. See, right there. Right there. Oh, boom. I don't know how to pronounce point. But yeah, right there. Follow the man. And yeah, follow me, Who Else But Rami, on Twitter. Thank you very much. I hope to be back for episode 3 next week to cover this card and see how it goes.
And guys, you can find me over at Corey Brennan BS on Twitter. And you can check me out on each show for WWE, Monday Night Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, and yeah, for this Saturday's pay per view, I would probably be covering the main card on the Body Slam Twitter, which is at Body Slam Net. And yeah, guys, that's it for episode 2.
One
I
thing,
we will.
also, I will be also covering the show as well, so you should definitely check out my coverage. I give the most outlandish remarks and reviews on these fights, so you should definitely be sure to watch Corey's show, excellently executed on YouTube as well. Him and Jamie has put on a great 2 episodes, and it's gonna be even better once more episodes come out.
Okay, guys, that is it, and we will see you